Welcome to the dark side of love. In today's video, I got back early from a trip. My wife wasn't home. I called her, she said she was in our bed. Austin, it felt like a blur. The conference ended 2 days earlier than scheduled, and while my colleagues celebrated their early return by squeezing in one last round of drinks or lining up their Netflix queues, I made a choice, one that would ripple through everything I thought I knew. I booked the earliest flight back, not to catch up on rest, not because I missed my bed, but because I missed her. Or at least the version of her I thought still existed. Judith, even her name held weight for me. There was something final about the way it rolled off the tongue, sharp at the end. A name that made promises commitment, maturity, loyalty. At least that's what I believed when we got married 5 years ago. We hadn't been connected lately. I'm not proud of how long it took me to see that, the slow erosion, and the way conversations turned to polite updates. How her hugs felt like formalities, not warmth. So I thought a surprise would shake us out of the haze. No speeches, no over-the-top gestures, just me, walking in through the front door like old times. Familiar, soft, natural, something honest. I didn't tell her I was coming. She still thought I'd be back Sunday night. At 12:12 a.m., I stepped off that plane with a tired smile. My carry-on in one hand, phone in the other. I scrolled past a dozen unread emails and straight to her messages. Last one was short. Hope the conference is going well. Don't forget to rest. Routine, just enough to feel like care. Without actually checking in, I didn't reply. I wanted to save my response for the moment I saw her face. That smile, maybe even a happy tear. I needed to believe that part of us wasn't gone. 12:43 a.m. Our driveway eye is pulled up in silence. No porch light, no hallway glow spilling through the curtains. No car. Judith's Prius was gone. That was the first gut punch. But I didn't panic. Not right away. Maybe she was at her sister Erica's. They were close. Judith sometimes spent the night there when she had a bad migraine or needed space. Still, I checked my watch like time would explain. It didn't. The garage door was open, wide still. Empty. Judith never left it like that. She was meticulous, almost obsessively so. The type to triple check if she unplugged her curling iron. But the space looked abandoned, like someone had left. In a rush, I parked across the street instead of pulling in. Something about the house felt off, still, quiet in the wrong way. I walked up slowly, key in hand. The front door opened with a familiar creak, the sound echoing louder than I remembered. Inside, it was cold. Not in temperature emotionally. Dead air. No scent of her lavender diffuser. No soft playlist humming in the background. Even the refrigerator wasn't humming. I stepped inside and shut the door gently behind me, like noise would make it real too soon. And then I called her, ring, ring, ring. Hey, babe, she mumbled, her voice low and sleepy. She sounded exactly like she was in bed, soft, cozy, groggy, like I'd just pulled her from a dream. Did I wake you? I asked. My voice almost caught in my throat. Yeah, she yawned, not missing a beat. Was already in bed? In our bed? I asked quietly. Of course. Where else would I be at this hour? That one line felt like a knife hidden in a hug. I didn't answer. I was standing 20 feet from our bedroom door. Still, empty, cold. No lights under the door. No rustle of sheets. Nothing. But she kept talking like she was right there beneath the covers. Maybe turning over, pulling the blanket up around her shoulders. All right, I finally said. My voice even. Just wanted to hear your voice. That's sweet, she said, stifling another yawn. See you Sunday? Yeah, sleep well. You too. Click. The line went dead, and I just stood there in the dark. Phone still in my hand, staring down the hallway into the bedroom where she definitely wasn't. That was the moment my heart stopped guessing, not broken. Just still. Focused. I didn't turn on any lights. I just waited, letting my eyes adjust to the dark. Listening, and what I heard wasn't silence, it was absence. An eerie kind. the kind that tells you something is missing long before you know what it is. The living room, the couch was perfectly neat. Throw pillows fluffed, blanket folded, coffee table wiped spotless, all to clean, except ... A single glass sat on the side table near the couch. Half full. Scotch. Neat. I don't drink scotch. Judith definitely doesn't drink scotch. I leaned in, fingerprints on the rim. Large, next to the laundry room, something caught my eye. A pair of shoes, men's dress shoes, Italian leather, worn slightly at the edges. Size 11, maybe 12. One still had a faint crust of mud on the sole. My breath caught in my throat. I knew those shoes. They weren't just any man's. They belonged to Malcolm Reyesa, mid-level analyst in Judith's office. We'd had him over once, months ago, for a couple's dinner. The guy had talked about his shoes for a full 5 minutes like they were art. Pieces. Flashy. Expensive. Memorable. They'd stuck in my head because they felt out of place. You don't brag about footwear while passing garlic bread across the table. That was when clarity set in. Not anger, not heartbreak, just clarity. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. This wasn't paranoia. It wasn't a maybe. It was a woman who answered her phone pretending to be asleep in our bed while her lover's shoes sat at the edge of the room I was standing in. I didn't scream. I didn't touch a thing. I didn't even walk to the bedroom. There was no need. The lie had already exposed itself. I stepped back, locked the door, and walked away. If she wanted the house tonight, she could have it. I had something else in mind. The Airbnb I checked into was just 5 minutes away from our house. But it might as well have been on another planet. It was small, just one bedroom, a kitchenette, a creaky bed frame, and a bathroom that smelled faintly of lemon-scented cleaner. Nothing fancy. But I didn't need luxury. I needed distance. Not miles, but meaning. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay on the mattress fully clothed, staring at the ceiling fan spin in slow, hypnotic circles. I wasn't crying. Wasn't curled up in a ball of grief. I was thinking, strategizing. Judith believed I was still in Austin, thousands of miles away. That mistake? That was the crack. The vulnerable, exposed thread in a web she'd spent weeks or maybe longer weaving behind my back. Now all I had to do was pull. By 8 a.m., I'd made up my mind. There would be no confrontation, no argument, no screaming in the middle of our living room, demanding answers she'd only lie through. No, this wasn't going to be an emotional outburst. This was going to be a revelation, a truth that would speak for itself. With witnesses, I didn't want a confession. I wanted the kind of silence that comes after someone's been caught. I started making calls, but not frantic, not sobbing, not like a man whose world had fallen apart. No, these were strategic moves. Chess pieces. I kept my voice light, even cheerful. First call, Mara Lewis, Judith's closest friend from college. The two of them had been inseparable for years. Mara had always been warm toward me, the kind of friend you'd want your partner to have, loyal, honest, deeply supportive. I told her I was planning a backyard dinner. Just a small get-together. Judith just wrapped up that big charity campaign at her firm, I said casually. Thought it might be nice to surprise her. Nothing major, just some lights, food, music, close friends and family. Mara loved the idea, said Judith deserved it. She's been working herself to the bone lately, Mara said. This'll mean so much. Yeah, I thought. It will, just not for the reason you think. Next call, Erica, Judith's sister. I told her the same story, small dinner. Casual, no need to dress up. Erica was thrilled. She offered to bring wine and said she'd help set up early if needed. She's going to cry when she sees this. She said maybe, but not the way you're imagining. Final call, Denise Reyes, Malcolm's wife. We weren't close, but we'd shared dinner once. Enough to make this seem casual? She answered after 2 rings. Hey, it's Stanley. Oh, wow. Hi, this is a surprise. Kept my tone light. I'm organizing something small for Judith. Backyard thing. Just a handful. Of friends? Don't tell her it's a surprise. That's so sweet of you, she replied. She really does deserve it. I was hoping Malcolm could make it too, I added, almost offhand. There was a pause. He's in New Orleans. Work trip. Left Thursday night. Oh, right, I said. Yeah, Judith mentioned something like that. Another pause. Then a chuckle. Tell him I said to come home early. Will do. I ended the call and sat in silence. So Malcolm had lied to his wife too. Told her he was out of state. That was good, very good. It meant they weren't just cheating, they were lying in every direction. And now, all I had to do was build the stage and let them walk into the spotlight. Saturday game day, the day started like any other. The sun was bright, air crisp. Birds chirping in the trees lining our street like nothing was wrong. Judith had no idea. I was back, no idea what was coming. I wanted the night to feel casual, organic, like a loving husband celebrating his wife's success. Nothing angry, nothing loud, just enough to keep everyone comfortable. Until the mask fell off. At 1 p.m., I texted Judith, "Hey babe, quick thing. I ordered something for the house. It's being delivered tonight. Can you be home by 8 to sign for it?" She replied 5 minutes later, "I'll be out with Erica. All day, but yeah, I can be home by 8. Simple, confident, innocent. I didn't respond. By 4 p.m., I was back in our house. Let myself in through the side door. Made sure the place looked lived in, but untouched. Didn't want her to suspect a thing. I even fluffed the pillows back into position after unlocking the back gate. At 6 p.m. sharp, the guests started arriving, quietly, just like I asked. I led them through the backyard one at a time, whispering thanks, guiding them to stay out of sight behind the privacy fence and hedges. I told them Judith didn't suspect a thing. They smiled, giddy, like we were all in on something beautiful. Few even took their shoes off, as if they were entering holy ground. They thought this was love. They had no idea they were about to witness the death of it. By 7:45, the backyard was full. Mara, Erica, Denise, friends from work, family members, all of them quietly gathered wine. Glasses in hand, music playing soft jazz under dim fairy lights. They smiled, laughed, and hushed voices, thinking they were waiting to yell surprise. Instead, they'd soon be frozen in a moment none of them would ever forget. I stood just inside the kitchen, behind the curtain, watching the front door. My phone was in my hand, camera app open not to post, just to capture what mattered. No anger, no tension, just silence, the soft hum of truth waiting to explode. 8:06 p.m., the front lock clicked. The door swung open. Judith walked in laughing. Her smile was bright. Not the tired grin she gave me after work. This was light, girlish, flirtatious. She wore a white blouse, the one she used to say made her feel pretty but effortless. Her favorite lipstick. The one she saved for nights she wanted to be. Noticed, and behind her, Malcolm, holding a bottle of wine, laughing too. One hand low on her back, close, intimate. He kissed her neck, and that's when I stepped out from the kitchen and slid open the glass door. Judith turned first. She froze. Just like that, her entire body locked up like she'd walked into a nightmare and couldn't wake up. Her smile evaporated. Her jaw hung slightly open, eyes widening as they met mine. Then her gaze drifted past me to the glass door behind. I didn't need to say anything. She saw them, all of them. Mara, Erica, Denise, my cousins, her coworkers, our friends. Standing. In the backyard, wine glasses half raised, frozen in a silent tableau of disbelief. For a few seconds, no one moved. The only sound was the soft wind brushing past the hedges and the low murmur of background jazz still playing on loop. Then Malcolm stepped back like he'd touched a live wire. His hand fell from her back. He adjusted his collar, stiff and sudden, as if clothes could hide guilt. Denise pushed past me like a tidal wave. "Are you serious?" she snapped, her voice slicing through the room like a blade. She wasn't looking at Judith. She was staring dead at Malcolm. Judith turned toward. her eyes wide, mouth open, but she still hadn't said a word. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Her hand reached for the edge of the kitchen counter like it could keep her from collapsing. Malcolm's face drained of color. "You told me you were in New Orleans," Denise said again. Her voice cracked, now with rage, but with something deeper. "Betrayal. I was just Denise. Listen. You didn't mean what?" "Ah!" she snapped. He couldn't answer. Judith stepped forward. Her arms raised slightly, as if she could physically block the damage with her body. As if shame had a form and she could shield everyone from it. "This isn't what it looks like," she said breathlessly. Her voice was shaking. It's not what you think." The room was still. No one bought it. Even the air felt tighter now. Erica stepped forward, blinking like she was trying to understand a language she didn't speak. You lied to all of us," she said softly. Her voice barely carried, but it hit hard. "You let us celebrate you, and all this time." Judith turned back to me. Her hands trembled now, clasped tight in front of her like a child waiting to be punished. "Stanley," she said. It was almost a whisper. "Can we talk? Just us?" I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and tapped the screen once. A moment later, her voice echoed through the Bluetooth speaker I had placed behind the curtain. "Yeah," she yawned. I was already in bed. In our bed, of course. Where else would I be at this hour? The recording played out slow, clear, undeniable, her voice pretending to be half asleep, pretending she was home, pretending she was faithful, pretending. Everything was fine while I stood just feet from our bedroom, empty, untouched. The silence that followed was suffocating. Judith stared at the speaker, like it had betrayed her too. Denise's face twisted in disbelief. Her voice dropped an octave. "You knew I'd be here, didn't you?" she asked Judith. "No, I didn't think you didn't think we'd find out," Denise snapped. She turned on Malcolm again.
"How long has this been
going on?" He didn't answer. Judith stepped toward me again. "Stanley, please, we can talk. I didn't plan for this to happen. It got out of control." Still, I didn't respond. I just watched her fall apart. Mara looked stunned, eyes wide. She shook her head slowly like she couldn't recognize the person she thought was her best friend. Erica turned away, jaw tight, tears welling but not falling. The crowd outside was still frozen, their expressions a mix of horror, confusion, and heartbreak. Some lowered their eyes, others just stared. Judith looked around, scanning the faces, looking for anyone to jump in, to defend her, to help her escape the weight of what was now public, open, and raw. But there was nothing. No one moved. She turned to me, pleading. "You don't understand. I was lonely. You're always working, always tired. You come home and barely talk." "I was working," I said calmly. "For us," she blinked. "I never stopped showing up. You just stopped seeing me. And then, instead of saying something, you invited someone else into our home, into our space." Her lip trembled. "I didn't know how to fix things. You didn't try," I said. "You lied instead." A desperate grasp, a reflex. I stepped back. "You lied to me while I stood inside our house," I said. "You lied to my face, over the phone." "It's not a mistake, Judith. That's a decision." Her shoulders dropped. She looked around again. But the crowd was already thinning. A few people had started to leave, quietly, awkwardly, unable to sit in the discomfort of what they'd just witnessed. No one said goodbye. No one hugged her. They just walked away, slipping through the backyard gate like ghosts at a funeral. Judith stood in the middle of the room, alone, mascara smeared, blouse wrinkled, hands clutched to her stomach like she could hold in the shame. Malcolm backed toward the front door like a man searching for the nearest emergency exit. Denise stormed after him, her heels sharp against the tile floor. Judith whispered something, "My name maybe," but it came out broken, unfinished, like her voice had finally given up, and me. I walked to the bar, poured a glass of water, sat down. Didn't speak, didn't scream, didn't cry, because the truth was already doing that for me. She finally stopped trying to explain, stopped reaching, just stood there in the middle of the silence she'd created. The silence she thought she could hide in, the one she thought would protect her. I finished my drink, set the glass down softly, and walked past her without a word. I grabbed my keys, opened the front door, and stepped into the night. I didn't sleep at the house that night. Didn't pack a bag, didn't grab a change of clothes, didn't take a framed photo off the wall or scoop up some sentimental trinket on my way out the door. I just left. Back to the Airbnb bare. Unfamiliar and quiet, in a way that didn't lie to me. I collapsed into the creaky twin bed, fully dressed, still hearing her voice echoing in my head. Where else would I be at this hour? I closed my eyes but didn't rest. There's a kind of stillness that hits you after everything breaks. Not pain, not rage, just emptiness. Not like a vacuum, but like a room that used to be full of music and now only remembers the echo. I kept waiting for the phone to ring. No texts, no apologies, no long paragraphs, nothing. Judith had vanished into the shame she created. 3 days passed. I stayed in that tiny rental like it was my recovery ward. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I didn't go to work, didn't call family. I just ... paused. I needed the quiet. I needed to hear myself think again after all that silence had been lying to me. Then dash on. Wednesday morning someone knocked. Checked the PEEPHOLE. Judith. She stood there like a ghost of herself. No makeup. Hair tied back. A jacket 2 sizes too big. Sleeves rolled up around her fists. Her eyes were puffy, like sleep hadn't found her either. She didn't knock again. She didn't try the handle. Just stood there, shoulders drawn in like she was bracing for a hit that had already landed days ago. I opened the door, slowly. She didn't step in. Can I talk? She asked, her voice thin, fragile. I nodded once and stepped aside. She didn't sit down, didn't move past the entryway. Just stood there like she didn't want to take up more space than she deserved. I'm moving out, she said quietly. I found a short-term place. I'll be gone by the weekend. I didn't answer. Let the silence be what it was, she continued. I know what I did. I know I destroyed something I can't rebuild. I'm not here to ask you to forgive me. I didn't want to leave without saying I'm sorry. Mum, she took a slow breath. Truly, I am. Her words felt rehearsed, polished, but not fake. Just filtered through guilt, trying to sound noble. I still didn't speak, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know what could be said that hadn't already been spoken through silence. She stood there, wringing her hands. I know you think it was going on for a while, she added, barely above a whisper. But it wasn't. It was that night. The night you came back. She swallowed hard. That was the first time. I looked at her, calm even, not accusing. That doesn't make it better, I said. She nodded. I know. Long pause. Do you hate me? She asked. No, I said. I just don't trust you. She closed her eyes for a second, like those words hit harder than anger ever could. And without trust, I continued, there's nothing to save. You nodded again. Didn't argue, didn't beg, just whispered, goodbye, and turned to walk down the steps. She didn't look back. 3 weeks passed. I didn't return to the house. I couldn't. It wasn't home anymore. It was a place where truth had died and ghosts moved furniture around then. One afternoon, I got a message from someone unexpected. Denise Reyes. Just wanted to say thank you for not staying silent. That was it. Simple. Direct. We met for coffee a few days later, not as comfort seekers, not as survivors of some shared heartbreak fairy tale, just 2 people sifting through the same emotional wreckage trying to breathe through it. She told me she'd filed for divorce, sold the house, moved in with her sister. She wasn't crying, wasn't bitter, just calm, resigned. I'm not even angry anymore, she said. I think the hardest part was realizing I never knew who he really was. I knew his habits, his job, his hobbies, but him. She shook her head. That part was a stranger. I nodded. I knew exactly what she meant. There's a certain kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt you, it hollows you out. Makes you question your own judgment, your own memory, your own worth. 6 months later, I sold the house. Didn't go back to pack. Hired someone to handle it. Kept my job, but took a few months off to reset everything. I started therapy. Traveled alone for a bit. Found peace in places where my name meant nothing and no one looked at me like that poor guy. I let the memories fade. Not out of bitterness, out of survival. Sometimes people ask me, how did you stay so calm? How did you sit in the eye of that emotional hurricane and not explode? I always tell them the same thing, because when someone lies to your face while you're standing inside the truth, you don't need to scream. You just let the silence say what they would in single quotes. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want justice. I wanted clarity, and that's what I got. Not the kind that feels good, but the kind that lets you breathe. Again, Judith never tried to win me back. She didn't chase, she didn't fight, because deep down, even she knew some things once broken don't heal. They stay shattered, and that's okay. Because sometimes, the cleanest cut is the one you don't see coming, the one that slices away everything false, so you can finally start over with what's real. Thank you for watching. This has been another story from the dark side of love.